so forward with the information, lovely. But when they described their sex life, that was a horror film to me, okay? With the slapping and the spitting and the choking. You guys are having sex like you're in the IRA. You're willing to die for your cause. I found out it would have been terrible in the IRA the first time an American man choked me. I was like, the operatives are over there. It is my favorite joke to do because not everybody knows who the IRA are. So there's people in this room being like, why is she talking about a retirement scheme? That's so vanilla.
Your next comedian, she's incredible. She has one of my favorite specials also out on YouTube. Make some f***ing noise for my friend Katie Boyle, everybody!
He made it so small. Hello. Okay, there's like a few nice people. The rest of you were so rude. I said hello and you ignored me to my face. Let's do it again. Hello. Okay, you guys are so nice. You're redeemable. I am from Ireland, and Americans, you guys have a bit of a bad reputation. I don't know if you know. But you're very nice to me. Anytime I meet an American, I live in New York. I love New Yorkers, they're the best. Very nice to me. Americans will always tell me when they meet me how good my English is. So that's lovely. And then I have to tell them it is my only language. So, but the niceness was there. We do have, so we speak a Hiberno English, so I'll always have to explain myself, do you know? If you're sick at home, you'll say, I'm in bits. And I was saying that to my friends. I was like, oh, I can't go out tonight, I'm in bits. And they were like, what are you saying? And I was like, obviously it means I'm sick because I'm in bits. But it was then the first time I ever had to explain it. I was like, I'm in bits. I'm in little pieces. I'm not whole. And I was like, oh my God, have I been a poet my whole life? That is so embarrassing. We also have another one, and it's grand. And I had no idea that you guys were interpreting that as, so we'll say like, the weather's grand, my meal is grand, I'm grand. It means fine. But of course, you guys are doing context clues and going, grand, grandiose, amazing. So every time you're talking to Americans, after a few minutes, they'd be like, wow, you're so positive. I'm like, I'm so I found out the miscommunication because I had an American friend and then I slept with him because it's really important for me to ruin a friendship. It was hard to date him. He's an American, so he has feelings. And I'm used to Irishmen. They don't have feelings whatsoever. Irish people in general don't have feelings because we never learned what the feelings are. But sure, we couldn't. Do you know? Every generation had it worse than the last, you know? So we could never complain. Like, if my grandparents complained about anything, their parents would be like, the f***ing famine. Okay? If my parents complained about anything, my grandparents would be like, the Brits. If I complained about anything, my parents would be like, the recession, and then I had a PlayStation, so, you know. It's just a land of people that suppress all of their emotions. So with my ex, I needed to be with someone nice, so I got with him, and he's liberal, so you guys know what that means. He was spending all of my money. And I'm liberal because I like having rights, but as a woman. I wasn't expecting a man to like not have money, but it's great, like, you know, 2020. No, what year are we? Oh my God, I just stopped. We're 25. I'm sorry, I want to be 30 forever. It's 2020 forever for me. Anyway, I don't know. I kind of struggled with that a bit. He just had stopped working and I didn't really understand what it was. And he was playing video games every day. And then my friends were like, that was your red flag. And I was like, I don't know. I had dated alcoholics before, so I was just so happy to know where he was, you know? I did tell him though, I was like, you really do need to get a job. One that you like going to even, or just go to work. And then he heard propose. So he started showing me engagement rings and I was like, oh, if we get married, I'm gonna have to pay for this wedding. That's a level of feminism I'm not okay with. So I looked very uncomfortable and he was like, don't worry, I'm not gonna propose until you let me call you baby. So Irish women, we hate being called baby, okay? Can the women in the room clap if you like being called baby? Okay, 5 women. Men, do you hear that silence? I kind of knew we needed to break up because we just didn't want the same things for the future. I'm like super, super driven. Like I left my family home in Ireland and, you know, he's not as much and that's fine. It just means you're not compatible. But I don't know how to get out of things. So I paid for a trip to Ireland for the two of us to go there. I paid for the whole trip. But I thought if I was feeling this way in my home country, then I know I have to leave him. And I felt that way. But what happened was he thought this would be a good time to ask my dad, I know, for permission to marry me. And my dad has had like 7 jobs since he was 7, so it's just not gonna. So every time he'd go up to my dad and he'd be like, Seamus, yes, my dad's name is Seamus, let's move past it. He is a hack Irishman. But my ex would go up and be like, Seamus, I have a serious question to ask you. And my dad would be like, I can't talk now. I have to feed the cows. But we don't have any cows, so I don't know what field he was wandering around 5 times a day. The neighbour's just like, there's Seamus overfeeding our cows again. But when I came back, I broke up with my ex, and he took it very well. And he took ownership for a lot of stuff, which a lot of people don't do. So that was great. Like I said, a nice man. Called my dad afterwards, and I go, best breakup ever. And my dad goes, why? And I go, well, he took ownership for stuff. It was like pretty easy. And my dad goes, he's even too lazy to argue. I love my dad so much. We're very close. He's like kind and understanding of people, if that makes sense. So I have no fear that he's ever going to say the wrong thing. And I bring home 2 of the girls who live in America back to home. And I'm just, I should say this as a side note about my dad. When we use the word woke, I think it just means they're a nice person, okay? They don't give a shit what you do in your life or who you are. They're just, My dad got awarded Nigerian Ally of the Year last year. He was just going in for tea with the girls every week, so they made him an award. But a lot of my friends aren't white, so I'm not afraid he's going to say the wrong thing. And so 2 of the girls, and both of them are Muslim, they're back home with me. He's killing it with them, by the way. He knows about their religion. He's talking about their home countries. Killing. But then he forgot something. So at the end of the night, he went to serve them alcohol, okay? I know. He forgot. But, they're not allowed to in their religion, and that's our religion. So he was just trying to be hospitable, but then he remembered because he knows things. So as he's serving a very nice, expensive whiskey, he goes, girls, what have I done? I can't believe I forgot. Jesus, I can't believe I'm so sorry. I'll make you a cup of tea. I'll make you a ham sandwich. We've lovely ham in the fridge. And the girls are like, calm down, Seamus. We're Muslim the way you're Catholic. And then he was like, never get drunk. And they were like, but pork, that is disgusting. But I swear my life, my little brother's name is Poor Rick. So my dad was like, what did my son do? So after explaining, we went in and we got drunk. And my dad's a little younger, and one of my friends a little older. So it's not crazy how much we drank. Oh no, you thought that they hooked up. No, okay? My dad has a second wife, okay? He doesn't need a third. Wow, I love that you're, oh no. Well, wait till you, okay, it's more shocking than that, I'll tell you. Okay, so we're drinking, we're drunk, we're having fun. And then my dad said, isn't it crazy that a man used to have to get a finger up his ass, gun to all your heads, you never thought that's what I was about to say, to check your prostate. But we don't have to do that anymore. We can get a blood test. It's crazy we ever had to go through this. And then I said, why do they still put a finger up a woman's ass then? And do you ever have a room be so drunk, become collectively sober? They're all staring at me. My dad started to pull away the whiskey. I was like, no, wait, because I have ADHD and I don't take the medication. So I was like, oh, they probably think I'm saying something crazy. So then out loud I said, I know I don't have a prostate. And my friend was like, are you having a breakdown? What is happening? And then I go, no, let me explain. My gynecologist has been doing that to me for 8 years in America. And my 2 friends looked visibly upset. They were like, oh my God, you've been assaulted. And me and my dad looked at each other, and it's the hardest we've ever laughed. Nothing funnier in Ireland than a bit of trauma, He was like, that's for the PlayStation. But also just because, okay, if this happened to someone else and they were genuinely upset, okay, that's not their fault. But I'm telling you, this is the one time in the world that you can blame the victim, me, because I give you permission. Because in 8 years, I never went, why are you putting a finger up my ass? I was just like, you're the doctor. I guess you know what's up. So then my friend was like, you can't go back to that gynecologist. And I was like, how do I get a new one, And then she was like, you can go to mine. So she set it all up. I went to her gynecologist a month later. It was so crazy. She didn't even look at my She got the weirdest Yelp review that day. I was like, 5 stars, 1 finger your And then my friend was like, you need to call and report your gynecologist. And I was like, phone call? I would rather a finger in the I was in San Diego a week ago, and I told this story. And this is all 100% true. My life is just nuts. And I get off stage, and there's 3 Irish people come up to me afterwards. Okay, so one of them, she's married to an American woman. And then the other guy, he's an Irish man. And so she says to me, my gynecologist was also putting a finger up my ass. So she's Irish. So she said to her American wife, has yours been doing that? And the American wife said, no. And then the Irish woman said, she's not thorough enough. So she told the woman to go tell her gynecologist she needs to put a finger up her arse. So the American woman went in to her gynecologist and was like, why aren't you putting a finger in my arse? And she was like, you want me to assault you? And then the Irish man said, who are these gynecologists and can I have their numbers? My dad is great though. He's like so Irish farmer. Whatever you're picturing, that's it. Classic. When I was first moved over here, it was the first time I ever lived with animals in apartments. Okay, so we don't have that back home. And there was a dog barking at 4 a.m. every night. And I called my dad. I was like, I can't sleep. What am I going to do about this dog? And he was like, poison it. I was like, okay. I was like, is that what happened to our other pets? And I told my roommate, because I thought that was hilarious. And then a few weeks later, I was coming home from work. And my roommate was outside with our neighbor, and the neighbor was crying. And I was like, what happened? And the neighbor was like, my dog died. My roommate looked at me. I was like, I didn't poison the dog. I called my dad. I was like, this is all your fault. My roommate's looking at me so weird. And he's like, just poison her. Okay, obviously I'm messing, but you guys are so weird. You guys were like, we prefer your gynecologist finger in the ass than talking about animals. Well, then we're going to double down because my dad also shot my cat. Which Americans are so weird about. You get so uncomfortable when I say that. That's why I love saying it to Americans, because you're like, in this country, we don't shoot animals, only people. And he did it because the cat was sick. It wasn't like he wasn't... Yeah, I know. Well, I came home from school and he was like, I had to shoot the cat. And I was like, I don't think that was your first option. He goes, what do you expect me to do? I go, bring him to the vet. And he goes, I'm not paying anyone to do something I could do myself. So then a few months later, when my appendix blew up, I was like, don't you touch me. He was mad that I was telling people about this because he was like, in my defense, before I shot him, I gave him a tin of tuna. I was like, how Irish Catholic are you that you were like, here's your last meal? I'm going to end on because I know that's what you guys want, but I just really didn't want to do it. I'm a bit like Kenise in regards to, I've a lot of shame and stuff, and so I don't enjoy this here. I think you guys need shame. It's gone too far. And like the American girls are so nice because when I asked them for advice, I didn't feel qualified for this, to be honest. And when I asked them for advice, they were so forward with the information, lovely. But when they described their sex life, that was a horror film to me, okay? With the slapping and the spitting and the choking. You guys are having sex like you're in the IRA. You're willing to die for your cause. I found out it would have been terrible in the IRA the first time an American man choked me. I was like, the operatives are over there. It is my favorite joke to do because not everybody knows who the IRA are. So there's people in this room being like, why is she talking about a retirement scheme? That's so vanilla. Okay, guys, keep up your energy. And just remember as well, if live pause. Okay, you guys, if the comedian pauses, just laugh. Okay, live, unpause. Okay, bye. Give it up for your host.
Katie Boyle, everybody! Come on!